Shabbos. Life is filled with challenges, all kinds of challenges in faith, challenges in hardship, challenges in temptation. I want to talk about the last one for a moment. The Torah portion this week begins, see, I'm giving you or gifting you today blessing and curse. The blessing if you listen to what I'm saying, the curse if you don't listen to what I'm saying. Curse, gifting you the curse. What does that mean? It's not just the blessing. I am giving the essence of God, anoichi, the same word that starts at 10 Commandments, is gifting you the curses. What does that mean? What that means is actually that we have to have an interesting perspective on our challenges, all our challenges, including our temptations. We cannot see them as independent. They do not have a life of their own. They actually are messengers from God, or even a gift from God. How do we see that? Indeed, the Zohar Kodesh says that when a king wants to test his son, the prince, he hires a lady of the night to test him. And the king wants, of course, the son to overcome her advances. But so does the lady of the night, because she's a subject of the king as well, and she wants the son to do the right thing as well. So she tries to tempt him, but wants him not to acquiesce. And that's how we have to view the Yetzer Hara, says the Zohar. The Yetzer Hara tries to tempt us to sin, but doesn't want us to sin because it too is an angel of God. It too is doing the work of Hashem for the purpose of bringing us to much greater levels. When we overcome a challenge and overcome a temptation, we become better people for it. We become stronger people for it. So the key to being able, one of the keys to being able to overcome temptation is to see what its root and source is. It's not something independent. It's not something that has a life of its own. It's not something that has an existence of its own, and we actually might feel that we missed out on something if we don't get involved. The story is told of Rabbi Zusha and Elimelech. Rabbi Zusha says to Rabbi Elimelech, the two holy brothers, he says to Elimelech, weren't you part of the soul of Adam? We all were. How did you allow him to sin with the tree of knowledge? Rabbi Elimelech says, why didn't you? The reason I didn't hold him back, because otherwise all our life we said we could have had that, we could have done that, we would have been so great, it was so wonderful, so pleasurable. So we participated, we failed, and we learned that it's nothing, no big stakes, no big shakes, not a big deal. That's how we have to view challenge. The challenge is not a big deal, because all it is a false reality. It's created only for us to be able to overcome it, for us to become greater people by it. Let me tell you a story. The Talmud relates, that is unpacked or greater detail by Rav Nissim Goy. Talmud tells us of a fellow called Mar Ukva. And Mar Ukva was a wealthy, successful individual who a certain woman called Chana caught his eye. The problem was this Chana was married. And unfortunately, he tried to make advances at her, and she would not hear of it. She wouldn't listen. And he actually got sick. And the doctor said, he really needs to be with her. And the rabbi said, no way. The doctor said, well, even just to talk to her. And the rabbi said, no way. It's an interesting concept that Rambam brings into halacha. There's only 3 sins that we're meant to die for, and not fail in. That's idolatry, adultery, and murder. And here, even if it's not adultery, says the Rambam, even if the woman is not married, even if it's only to talk to her, if a man says, I'm going to die if you don't give in to me, she's not allowed to give in to him, even just to talk to him, because we don't objectify women, because otherwise it would objectify her. you'd make her hefker, like anything goes. If I could just say it's going to, I'm going to die because of it. I think it's an important message for our young ladies to know, because sometimes some young men might use this kind of argument to entice them. Oh, I'm going to commit suicide, or I can't live without you. And they have to know that no, they don't have to give in. But that's an aside. So he somehow or another gets back on his feet, this Mar Ukva. And in the meantime, this woman's husband gets into all kinds of debt, and he's taken to debtor prison. Now she comes and visits him every day in the debtor prison. He says, listen, you got to go and do something to try to help me out. Go to this Mar Ukva, get some money, and try to save me. She didn't want to tell him what's going on, but he pressures her and pressures her and pressures. So she goes to Mar Ukva. Mar Ukva writes her a check right away, and then says, hey, it's our time. So she says to him, look, I'm in your control. This is unfortunately the situation, but I want you to think about something. She says, I want you to think about, if you sin with me, what might be. But at this moment, if you overcome your temptation, you will have achieved a level of heaven, world to come, that takes many people years to reach. You will be able to overcome this challenge. If you can overcome this challenge, you will reach the highest of levels. And that's how you should view this temptation that you have. If you don't want to, there's nothing I could do. But I want you to think in these terms. And he did. He withstood. He withstood his temptation. Interesting is that the husband didn't believe it. And once she came with the money, the husband thought, uh-oh, what happened? And kind of didn't want to go back to her. Until Rabbi Akiva was walking with his students, and this Mar Ukva was coming on a donkey. And Rabbi Akiva wanted to approach him. And the student says, what, are you going to this home wrecker? What do you want to do with this home wrecker? He says, not a home wrecker. It's not, that's false. It's not true. Can't you see a light shining from him? The angels have put a light upon him. And then the husband went to Rabbi Akiva and says, how could you try to engage with this guy? Rabbi Akiva says, because he didn't sing. And the husband came back together with his wife, and this Mar Ukva became a great student of Rabbi Akiva, who taught him Torah and ultimately became a sage in the Talmud. This is how we view temptation. It is a gift from God, giving us the opportunity to reach a tremendously great level. To have free choice means you have a choice to do what's good and a choice and ability to do what's bad. And by not doing what's bad, it lifts us to the highest of levels. That's why it's a gift from God. Because if it's not hard and you do what's right, big deal. It's only when it's challenging and you do what's right, that's when you're lifted to the highest of levels. And that's how you have to view it. Hashem says, I am giving you the blessing, and I'm the one giving you the curse as well. I'm giving you the temptation to lift you with free choice to the highest of levels. And if we view things from that perspective, it's much easier for us to overcome it.